It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks and talk about banksters and Bitcoin and the apocalypse and stuff. It's Lucy and Jeff and tacos and kisses.
How you doing today, Lucy? Well, pretty good. We're back at Anarchapulco. It's the final day. Looks like we got the pirate booth over here. That sounds pretty good. I like me some pirate coin and some tacos.
This is mine. It's for your wife.
Oh, thank you.
Give it to her as the Grammy of the year, the wife of the year award. Look at the umbilical cord. I love you, bro. I gotta go though. I got a conference call. I'm gonna try to check you tonight, Jeff.
All right.
Bless you, brother.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Lucy. You're my star, my icon.
That's for my wife.
Beautiful.
She wins the.
What's in there?
That's like an umbilical cord.
Do you want it in the car? The red thing?
We could give it to my people. That's my people there. What's going on? I'm recording, by the way.
To the area?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. That was a great interview, by the way.
Thanks.
He's got a show called Anarchids.
The Anarchids Club.
He did like an amazing interview. Like he's like better than most people do interviews. Really good. Well, there's lots of people here.
The double safety nurse.
I was
Hello?
in school, started teaching in 72. So I watched the transformation from
special
the
check.
inside.
Would you like a glass of water?
And I
Sure,
believe it
thank
started
you.
with the food.
Yeah.
In the 70s, the government began offering grants. This local school system could get a grant. Okay, if you, we'll give you money, the feds, if you, and the kid, we had lunch ladies. The local ladies in the community would come in and they'd cook their stews in there. You didn't get mystery meat, you got real food.
That's right.
But when they started taking the Fed money, the Fed began to dictate what they would eat. And
Yes.
the kids ended up eating cardboard fucking pizza. Okay, just no nutrition. And I'm like, how are their brains working? I'm sorry. You hit it. Yes.
Hey
And so,
everybody, thank you guys for being here at family camp today. I don't know if everybody saw, but Jeff has arrived. So we're going to be transitioning to moving into our dialogue with Jeff. So thank you for coming this morning, everybody. And I don't know who's guiding
I went up
questions.
Laura.
Laura, here we go. Okay. To our lovely hostess.
Yes.
Thank you. I feel more that we are sharing today. Like every morning, we've been sharing. So, and almost every day we had some special guest who was talking more on one topic. But basically, in these family circles, we've been sharing our experience or questions that are like burning to us, and we are trying to find answers. And then it naturally goes from one topic to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. So would we like to ask maybe Jeff some questions, or Jeff, would you like to ask us some questions first?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Like I don't really know what's been happening here. So if you can give me just a real brief, like what's been going on,
Mostly we're talking about our kids. And I could finish up with my son now, because I talked about my daughter. My son is 25, and he went through the school system, and my wife wanted him to do the normal thing, and I didn't, but I didn't want to create anything, so he went through the school system. In 8th grade, and we did the Lutheran school again till 8th grade, and then when he got to high school, I was back and forth to China a couple of times, and about sophomore, junior year, very smart kid. I mean, really too smart type of kid, you know. And then he had an idea that, you know, Little League, you know, he would sit there and he would be able to figure things out ahead of these other people all the time, it seemed like. But anyway, they come back from China, and I said, Monday morning, going to school, and you know, my wife and my son, no, I quit. And I'm like, what? I was here about a month, so I was like, what? So I had a revelation, and he started to do online learning, and it was just horrid. It was horrid. And to get him through the last year of school was horrid. Yet he was very smart, and yet I wanted him to do what he wanted to do. He actually said to the chemist teacher one time, she said, he looked at her and goes, what am I here for? And I'm like, well, you're here because this is the school system, you know. But I realized that, right, he had a certain desire, and the lady here with her child, I mean, she had quite a episode, and he had to do other things, you know, but he was doing his own education. Anyways, he's a mechanic, and that's what he likes to do. He does it very well, making good money, and really got to let him go. And I tried to do I really didn't want him hardly to go to school, except he had to learn certain things and learn a trade. And that's what I told my daughter: don't go to college, go to college to learn what you want to learn. But she didn't actually know what she wanted to learn, so she changed her curriculum and stuff. And like I said before, once she got to the dean's office, which was okay, so now she's making money doing that. But once she got out of the dean's office, she was totally the other way, liberal and vaccinated now and this and that and that. But my son says, because my son and my daughter are both pretty close, though, which is good. And she sort of and he goes, why do I want it? You know, but like I say, there's so much tension when I go to see her in Virginia. I'm from Michigan. That when we're leaving, she's basically badgering us to get the shot. I mean, it's 2 or 3 times, except the last time we went, she did not say a thing about it, which was pretty good. Just a few months ago.
I think they've given up on it a little bit.
So I guess, yeah, I just said, this is the way we're doing it. You do the way you're doing it. Because she even threatened, and my wife found out through the grapevine that she threatened that we weren't going to see grandchildren if we didn't get vaccinated. I'm like, Samantha, that's your decision, but don't be saying that to your mother. But she did find out. So, but
Okay, so like I was kind of asking like what is happening here. So it sounds like you're talking about just everyone's experiences getting out of school systems and stuff like that, or
Raising kids.
As well. And some of us, we have small kids still. Some of
Yeah.
us have grown-ups and younger, and some of us, we have some kids, like maybe not really voluntarily shifting from like school to homeschool, and they are experiencing the like difficult parts of it, learning on their own, and then others giving them the advice or the support.
I'm good, thanks.
And
yeah, exactly, because we're dealing with the challenge of pulling the kids out of school during the COVID lockdowns, and then because of the mask mandates and the testing and stuff. And we moved to Mexico a year and a half ago, and so our kids are sort of now homeschooled by default, but they're older than a lot of the kids I see around here. They're sort of 15, 13, 18. And so, but you know, they're sort of dissatisfied as well, because there are challenges with homeschooling, as we talked about. If they were in a school, there are certain facilities they could have, like track and field and so on. She's a budding scientist, but I'm not a scientist, so I can't really like give her the sort of help she needs. So we're just sort of coming here together, and we've got some really good advice from people. They've said, well, listen, it's not about finding the school, it's about finding the scientist who can help you, for example. So doing it individually.
Okay.
I had a question to you, because you speak pretty openly about.
I hope you guys don't mind I'm recording this. Is that okay?
No, that's totally fine. Okay.
Yeah, also speak louder. Yeah.
So watching.
So remember, they have to hear you too. So speak louder.
Yeah. So watching your videos, you're pretty open and honest about you are putting in the time now yourself as a father, but also as an individual. You talk about deprogramming from your education. So, can you speak a bit to that, about that experience, and also how it can help us with our newly or experienced homeschooling and unschooling journeys? Because a lot of us got thrown into this, I think, not necessarily by choice.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about that. Yeah, so I actually kind of had kids by accident and completely out of the blue. So I had to learn this stuff pretty quick. I adopted my daughter when she was 3, and I actually at that point I hadn't even heard of the word unschooling. I had heard of the word homeschooling. I'd never really thought about it. The only thing I thought about was that, to me, the the school, I don't even like to use that word, prison I was sent to as a child was the worst thing ever that I'm still trying to get over. A lot of my self-work is still related to that. A lot of my, like, I used to sit there and watch that clock. I'd watch every second. Every second was like an eternity to get out of there. I still remember that. And to this day, people are like, Jeff, you seem like you always want to go. Yeah, I'm still trying to deal with it, you know? That was 12 years I was in a torture camp, right? So then I had my little girl, and I didn't think too much about it. And, you know, I was doing my thing, and I don't think we really even discussed, like, we live pretty... My wife is incredible. I'm very lucky that way. I know a lot of people say they hear about people, or I hear people say, yeah, my wife, she's like not like me, and she believes in all this other stuff, and that must be incredibly hard. And I think really it's tough to give relationship advice in like 10 seconds, but you can try for a while. If it doesn't work, I think you just got to split up, because if they're like, the kids got to go to school, they got to get lethally injected. Like when they're talking about lethally injecting your own children, like, I don't know how you keep that together.
There's no middle ground.
No, like, this is like, the universe is pushing everyone to do actually the right thing. It's actually a beautiful thing. Because everyone had their kids in like prison for like 12 years, and you know, they're getting lap dances from trannies, and now they're chopping off the kids' penises without telling their parents, and like the universe is like, do you get it yet? Get them out of there. You got, yeah.
Well, my wife too, not to interrupt, but she was.
It's so much more the indoctrination than all of that.
It's everything.
If you look at the history of education, you know, the John Taylor Gatto, if you know, looking at those really like. It's set up to be a factory, you know, you change classes at the ring of a bell, it's you stand in line, you know, it's all these things that it's like you're setting them up to be sheep. So I think when you're like, oh my gosh, we were thrown into this, it's like blessing in disguise, you know, like, hey, now we have the opportunity to do things. And I can't really relate. My kids have never been to school, you know, so they have lived a very different life. They don't have the like, oh, now I have to be intrinsically motivated to find the resources to learn all these things. They have just lived this their whole lives, you know. It's a very different.
Yeah, so I had my daughter, and then, like I said, my wife's like probably more anarchist than me in a sense. So like, what luck for me that you know, it was just totally. She was sent to me, obviously. She's the most amazing hardcore woman ever, and so we never even talked about school. Like, it wasn't even a topic, you know? Like, a lot of people might be like, well, we have a kid, you know, what about school? We just never came up. We were like at the beach with her, playing with her. But she had a son from a prior marriage, and he was in Germany, but he came and lived with us. So all within a few months, I all of a sudden had a whole family. And we still didn't talk much about school, but he didn't speak one word of Spanish. He was from Germany, and he didn't speak English either, so I could barely talk to him. It was really an interesting first year or so. But he picked up the language so quick. He spoke better Spanish than me within like 6 months just being around the house. And then I remember he came up to me one day, and he said, Papa, what does the video game say? He was playing Xbox or something. And I said, oh, this is so great. It's too bad you don't know how to read. Like, if you could read this, it's amazing. He's like, well, read it to me this time, but I'm going to learn how to read. And so I read it to him, and then he goes, so how do you read? And I'm like, I don't know, go on YouTube or something. There must be something. And maybe a month later, he was pretty much reading. And then we were actually in Cabo. We were living in Cabo for a bit. And there was a Montessori school right next door to our house. And I heard great things about Montessori. And we thought it might be good for them to go, especially my son, who he was just only been in Mexico for like 2 months, just learning to speak Spanish. Might be a good place. And it wasn't bad. If you have to go to a school, it seems like Montessori is one of the better ones. But pretty quickly, like, they are a lot like us. Like, our kids are a lot like my wife and I. Like, I don't like all this, you know, I have to be here at a certain time, you know, like, I'm 8 years old, and I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. And so we got them out of there pretty quick. I think they went to Montessori, maybe a total in Acapulco and Cabo for maybe a year. And that was it. There was definitely never any discussion about going to a government school. Like, that was just like not even close to in our realm of possibilities. And pretty much from there, I didn't even really think about it. And like my son now, a lot of you probably met him, he's working at Max's Bar, and he wants to start his own bar. That's what he wants to do. He's very entrepreneurial. He just turned 18, so he's just doing that, and very smart. If you've met him, you know he's very smart. Never really went to school.
Does he have the long short length hair?
Yeah, the long hair, yeah. And my daughter, a lot of people haven't met her because she's not really around here too much. She's like the smartest 16-year-old, the strongest and smartest 16-year-old girl I've ever met in my life. There might be smarter in terms of like Jeopardy smart, memorizing stuff, but you put her anywhere pretty much in the world and you say, you know, survive or figure it out, no problem. And to me, that's the real skills. Like we'll send her to our ranch almost by herself. Like we'll send the driver, but like no one really to help her. We'll say, go see what's going on. If there's a problem with the contractor, you know, do a deal, or maybe you have to fire him, you know, let us know. And she'll be doing that at 16 years old, like no problem. So to me, like life is the school. And you know, a lot of people, like you mentioned, you know, your daughter might want to be a scientist, which, just so you know, what they say about science on the television isn't science. I'm sure you do know that. But I don't see any reason for any school, really, especially for young people. And the reason I say that is they're meant to be moving around. You know how they have the kids in the schools now and, you know, sit there for 8 hours and memorize mostly wrong information. And the kids start wiggling around and they're like, oh, put him on meth. You know, he can't concentrate in his prison. So to me, like just and everyone's different. And, you know, basically I would say it's always up to the kid. So I would ask the kid, 6 years old, 8 years old, do you want to go to school? Yeah, I do. I want to see what it's like. Go right ahead. And if you don't like it, let me know. Right? And some kids might like it. Like everyone's different, right? Some, like my daughter actually kind of did like the school. She was actually kind of like a little sad. She's like, well, I miss a lot of my friends there. And I'm like, well, you can invite them over after school when they get out of jail, right? Like, and yeah, so that's been my experience. And now I have a new baby, and I know pretty much for sure, like the only way he'll ever see an inside of a school before he's at least 10 or 12 or something is if he wants to go and he brings it up. Otherwise, it won't even be brought up. So that's how I've lived my life, and it's worked out pretty well for me. And man, like our family, and then there's all the work that we do too, right? And you know, like I meditate hours per day. My wife is yoga every day, which is sort of like a form of meditation as well. And so our family is unbelievably, like I hear about some people having all these problems with their kids and their family, and like we have none. Like I, you know, don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but like none, zero. Like people are like, wow, your daughter's 16, that must be a, you know, a handful. Nope. You know what she does though? She was going to the disco when she was 15 till like 4 in the morning, but that's very normal in Mexico. You actually, there's discos that the kids go to. They'll have 1 or 2 beers or something, but you know, all the parents wait outside. It's actually way better. Like when I grew up in Canada, I went to a bar for the first time when I was 18. I was super skinny and super shy, and people were fighting every night at the bar, and you know, it was scary, and like, you know, I just tried to find my way through it, and like people were trying to beat me up, and you know, my daughter goes, they just have a great time with their friends, they dance all night, they might have a beer, they might have 2, I don't even really know. I have my driver wait outside for her, I don't wait for her, but most people have their parents wait outside, and she's great, and she just, you know, and she's like very, like she actually asked me if it's okay if she can go, right? So that's the level of I don't want to use the word control because I don't really control. Well, you can use a number of words for it, but like we have a relationship where she knows her entire life. I've always just tried to give her the best advice, but I never tell her what to do.
Respect.
Yeah, respect. Yeah, so she knows. Like, I remember when she was like 3 and she was on it must have been like an 8-foot ledge, and she said, "Papa, I'm going to jump off." And I know some parents would say no and then shout at them, and if they started to jump, they'd go and hit them, right? I wouldn't do that if I was you. And she said, why? I said, you're like 3 feet tall. That's 3 times your size. That's like me jumping off an 18-foot ledge. And she's like, so what are you saying? I'm like, you could like totally break your ankle. And she's like, really? And I'm like, you know what I would do? And she's like, what? I'm like, I would start at 2 feet. She goes to 2 feet, right? So that's how I've dealt with her my whole life. dealt doesn't sound right, but that's how I've interacted with her my whole life. Respected her. Yeah, it is a form of respect, right? Like I respect her just like anyone else. And because of that, we have 0 problems in our house, and like 0. And I hear about other people having all these problems, and I really don't know. Well, I do know actually, because they don't do a lot of these things, and they don't have that sort of relationship with their kids. So that's what I can bring to this, is just telling you about my experience and how well it's been going. Is that a question over there from the Anarchists? Oh, we're on another show here. This is the Anarchist show. It's awesome.
I just wanted to ask, are we going to be able to hold Lucy?
Let's get to the chase.
These are the important things. Yes.
It's not about
So he's asking her,
Lucy.
he's asking if he can hold Lucy. And I have to tell you, she's pretty tired. She's also about 11 years old now, which in human terms is like 80 or something. We went onto the boat all day yesterday, and she actually told my wife, because my wife can talk to animals, that she's pretty exhausted today. So I would just say, if everyone could just be really not grab her or anything, but if you really want to hold her, I'll make sure that happens, but not too much. She's just really tired today. She's just exhausted.
Can we ask Lucy if she wants to be?
Yeah, you can ask her, but unless you speak with animals, I don't know if you understand. Okay, well, ask her first then. Ask her.
Consent is not optional.
To what you just commented
Sure.
in terms of relationship as a parent to your children. In my experience, when I had my children in, as you said, indoctrination camp, which I call it myself, I felt like it is designed to split the families. It is designed to encourage children to overrule their parents. So once the children are around their families, they try to bring that in. So it's not that there's a natural competition. It becomes disrespect to the parents, or they have a different point of view, and they see you not as a role model, but more as a problem. So since as usual, when there are holidays and you spend time with your children, you almost feel like they change and your relationship becomes warmer and more natural, and you start understanding each other. And then once they go back to school, you go back to the same kind of relationship, which is broken. But I think homeschooling is fantastic because, as you're saying, your relationship with your family becomes natural. Yeah. And you don't have to do any repairs. Your children grow up, they know you so well. They know you better than you know yourself. And at the same time, you as a parent, you learn from your children. I learn everything. I even tell my children, oh, I stole your idea, without them even knowing. So you improve yourself as an adult. Because as an adult, we can lose the concept of reality, and our children are giving us a balance of that to actually keep that grounding, so we don't get into the cycle of what we know and how great we are and how we understand the world. So I think the children are kind of a way for you to open up the new world and experience through their eyes. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also mentioned too, my new baby, he will not even know what an iPad is until at least 10, 11, 12. And he'll only know about it because he'll see his friends with it, and then he'll ask me about it, and then I'm going to have a serious talk with him. You got to watch it with these things. But again, it's all about, just go with the flow. I actually find a lot of parents, they worry so much about everything, right? And a lot of people do that, right? And they'll, I gotta send my kid. What if I don't send him to school and then he can't go to college, which is a total waste of time for the most part, and then he can't get a good job? That's a big reason that people put themselves into this slavery sort of system, is because of fear. And all I can tell you is I actually finished high school, but I was so mad about it, and I actually barely went the last year. I did a deal with the principal. I was actually, my mom, the principal called, and he's like, your son's never here, right? She's like, what? And she worked at night, so she'd sleep in the day. She was like a nursing assistant, and she said, you have to go to school. I'm like, okay. And so I knew she would check upstairs to see if my shoes were gone, to see if I was in school. So I'd wake up at like 7 in the morning, which, oh God, that alarm clock was just the nightmare. Like, one of my top goals in life is to never, ever use an alarm clock ever again, and I'm pretty good at it. Like, even today, like, I got up, I didn't have to use an alarm clock. I try to arrange my entire life to never have to use an alarm clock. But I'd go up, take my shoes, bring them downstairs, and then she caught on to that I was still there, even though my shoes weren't there. So then I'd go up, get my shoes, and then I'd go sleep in my closet. So she'd come in, okay, he's gone. I was still not there. This went on for like a month. And then she's like, you have to get this piece of paper, which I've never used in my life. I've never even seen it. I didn't even care about it. But I did a deal with the principal. I said, listen, most of this stuff is just total bullshit. The other stuff is stuff I couldn't care less about and I'll never use again in my life ever, like physics. Like, I know physics is important. I know there's a reason the airplane goes up, but I don't need to know exactly how you compute that. I can let other people do that. I'll own the airplane company or something, right? So I did a deal. I said, listen, just let me come for the tests. And they basically let me, and I would actually just read the whatever the book was. You know, everyone's got a textbook for every class. I would read the whole book the night before. I'd get like half of it, and then whatever I thought I couldn't memorize or get, I wrote on my arms and my legs. My entire arms and legs were just full of whatever I couldn't remember. And I actually made a goal of getting 50% on every single test. Not 51%, because, you know, I just wanted 50, and not 49, because then I would fail and they'd make me go back, right? So I got 50 in almost every single class. Funnily enough, so I got out of school, and then my mom said I had to go to college. And the only college I could get in was a community college in Canada. And they threw me out within 1 month. I told all the teachers they're idiots. They had a computer class, and I was a computer hacker. That's really what I loved. That's what I wanted to do. I was one of the top hackers in Canada when I was like 14 years old. And so I go to this, my mom made me look at all the courses, and there was one that I thought was interesting. It was called Mass Media and Advertising, and I thought there was something about that interested me. So I was in the mass media class, and I'm like, these teachers don't know anything. And then we go into the computer part of the mass media class, and they didn't even know how to turn the computers on. And I'm like, you guys are complete and total idiots. Like, why am I even here? And so they threw me out. Interestingly enough, 10 years later, exactly, almost exactly, I had a media company worth $240 million. So when people worry about their kids, they got to go to school to learn this stuff, the schools almost always will make your kids way worse, and they'll have to unlearn most of that stuff, and they'll have to get over those traumas for most people the rest of their life. So most people never even get over it. Now, this isn't the case for absolutely everyone, but what I would say to people who are kind of scared, like, what, just not send your kids to school, and then what? Well, come to things like this, read books like Dana Martin's Unschooling book, or whatever books you guys know about. I'm sure you do. Know people who've done it, or follow them on whatever, YouTube or wherever. And then just like Max Egan says, throw yourself to the wind and ride it. And what you usually find out, what I've always found out, what Max found out even coming here to Mexico, now he owns a bar, and he's like a rich bar owner after like defecting from Australia, and they shut down all his bank accounts, is the more that you just trust in the universe and just, you know, go with the flow and ride whatever, things always seem to work out. And like, I've talked to so many people, and that's just the case. So this is usually something for the mothers, because it's the mothers who really, really worry. And you know, just let go a little bit and try some things, and you'll find that, like, now it's not the same for everyone. Like, some people probably just like school, and there's probably some good courses to take in college. I'm not aware of any, but there probably is. You can learn everything on the internet now anyway. But also some people, I do know that some people really need a sort of a school environment to learn for some reason. I'm not like that. I was always, there's a word for it, I forget it, apocalyptic or something, dialectic or something. You teach yourself. Yeah, not that. It sounds like I'm dyslexic when I'm trying to figure the word out.
Neurotic?
No, there's a word for people who teach themselves best. Whoa! That was a balloon or something. Ah, she got a smile. See, no one freaked out, so everything was fine. If everyone freaked out, she'd start crying. What was I talking about? Yes, yeah, sure. Hello.
So I make a living as an online English teacher. I used to teach English in Asia before the pandemic, and then I came to Anarchapulco just in time. And there's a huge debate between classroom teaching and online education, and I'm doing much better online because I compare it to the invention of the printing press, right? Like thousands of years ago, you had like write a book, and only like most people could not read, and there were no books. But then the printing press came out, and it's like bam, bam, books for everyone. Online teaching is the same thing. We can teach anyone around the world anything with videos and pictures. So I'm big on that, and also about 3 years ago I started working with Anarchapulco, and for the last couple of years we've been teaching self-reliant skills to children, and Jeff has helped us keep that going, and it's been a huge honor. Like, there's no book, like we don't know how to do this, teach the proper self-reliant skills so that the kids don't have to rely on authority. Like if there's an emergency, they don't need to call the government. If some basic life skills, they don't need help from authority to finance that. What'd you say? Well, yeah, and I was going to get that. That's what we can do, because we all know that there's been a lot of like chaos and instability in the freedom community. We don't really have our stuff together, but I'm seeing us starting to teach kids, and I'm thinking maybe that's our whole purpose, right? If we can just get the right ideas and concepts into their minds and teach them, you own yourself, you're free, there is no authority, and here's some basic skills, and you won't need to rely on authority. If we can give that to the next generation, then I think it makes everything worth it, and it's our success. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Chad. You know, I would just add that if we were having this talk 40 years ago, I might be talking slightly different. I might be saying, yeah, maybe you can go to college and maybe you can have a pretty good life. The whole world is about to collapse. There's no point. Like, a lot of people are still, this is what people always do. They go, well, it worked for my parents and their grandparents or their parents. We're going to be witnessing a massive shift in the world, and it's amazing, like everyone's got a college degree now. It used to be a thing that like, oh wow, he has a college degree. And now it's like every idiot, dumbed down NPC, libtard, robot is, well, I've got like 3 degrees. Like, oh, good for you. What do you know? Nothing. But, you know, so if you still got that in your head, because I hear that a lot, like, well, if I unschool, how do they go to college? It's like, are you sure you want to send them? Like, what the, you know, there's probably some good courses. I don't know of any, but there probably is, and that can be useful. But everything's going to change so dramatically. And I'll also mention this: I've been an entrepreneur basically my own life. I've had numerous businesses. I've never once asked for any sort of like, what school did you go to? In fact, I've never ever asked for a resume. When I hire someone, it's usually I run into them and I'm like, okay, you seem like you could work with what we're doing. Now, when the company gets bigger, then you have other people hiring lower level, like secretaries and stuff like that. But like, I would never ever ask for like, oh, do you have some sort of a college diploma or something? Like, if anything, I would actually be more likely to turn them away. And the reason would be because most of the things I do are very entrepreneurial, very, you know, you got to be self-sufficient and like be able to move quickly and do things on your own. And if you've already shown that you have made a massive mistake and wasted 4 years of your life and spent tons of money and you still don't know anything, and actually worse than that, those 4 years you never learned how to do anything, so now you can't. I would like, if you've just put 2 people in front of me and said, this guy's got a college degree and this guy doesn't, I'd be like, okay, I'll talk to you if this guy's not good, because, you know, you've already shown that you're not very smart, right? So everything in this world's upside down. To me, if you have a college degree, you're probably not very smart, right? And it's true. Like, how many people, sorry, I'm probably like demeaning some people here, but who here has a college degree, just out of curiosity? So, quite a few. Okay. What would you guys like just briefly say about like, did that make it so you like, was that a big help to you in your life to get this degree?
To what you're doing right now.
I just completed a master's degree in Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and so it's helping me help people.
Okay, well that's cool. Like that's actually something decent. I didn't know that was a course in college or something, right? I've never paid attention to college.
It's a special, a graduate program.
I guess all I really know is there's like Bachelor of Arts, and I'm like, why? 4 years of just.
My son got his in hip hop music.
There's a degree in hip hop music?
Well, he did his thesis.
I became a rapper.
He did his thesis, and then he said to me, "Mom, I have mastered the liberal arts." I said, "Get a fucking job." He couldn't. Nobody pays you for hip hop with a college degree.
I can't believe there's a college degree in hip hop.
His thesis was on hip hop music. Yeah.
Wow.
UNC.
I actually got into. I actually became a rapper.
Liberal arts.
I became a rapper in 1988, and the main reason was to get over my shyness. So like I was so super shy, like you wouldn't believe it. Like I couldn't go to the store and ask for like anything. I'd have my head down and I'd hope they wouldn't talk to me. And around that time I really started liking girls. I was like 15, 16. And I'm like, well, this isn't going to work out very well. I like the girls, but you need to talk to them to get to know them. And so I thought, I always do this. I go, what's the most extreme thing I could do to get myself out of my shyness? And I was really into rap music. It was, just coming out at the time, like Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash, Eric B. and Rakim, KRS-One. And so I was like, okay, I'll become a rapper, and that's how I'll get out of my shyness. But again, that's, like to go to college to learn about rap is, especially where it came from. That's the antithesis of what it was all about.
Right, against the system.
yeah, Public Enemy. They're probably teaching them. I'd love to see the mumble rap course. That must be interesting. Try to decipher what he's saying. It's like, oh god.
Public Enemy. I was trying to get a self-defense guy to come speak on Sovereign Living Day, and I spoke to Professor Griff. He has like a really badass tactical self-defense course. He responded back hello, but like nothing back. But I was like, oh, that would have been awesome.
Cool.
I just heard you mention Public Enemy. So.
Yeah, and we had Wu-Tang Clan here a couple of years ago. They're cool guys.
I'd like to say
I have small comment. They kicked me out from many schools actually. So I think 4 or 5 schools.
Badge of honor.
Good.
I'm one of the most successful business in my small country. Plus, I had 1,500 employees in 8 years. Of course, not in one time. They change all the time. So, but there is one thing: those guys who was uneducated without high school diploma, they sometimes are more smarter people than those who have this high school diploma.
Yeah, well, most entrepreneurs that have done well in this world, almost all of them have dropped out. Because there's nothing you can learn in a school about things like hip-hop or entrepreneurialism. Like, that is stuff that you have to do on your own sort of thing. So, yeah.
But like you said, about engineering, or I'm a half an engineer. I grew up through it, and I went to the military, got my education that way, but I told my kid he's a diesel mechanic. Like I said, he did not like high school, hard to get him through it, but he finally took diesel mechanic, basically aced it, making $30 an hour. That's what he had to do, and that's what he wanted to do. So that's what you got to do. You got to let them do what they want to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's absolutely. But then you do need some engineering if you're going to work on the planes.
Listening to you guys talk, it seems like really we should encourage our kids, especially if they're mid to late teens, to be entrepreneurial, right? That seems to be the way to go.
Not necessarily. Like I will say that not everyone can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like most people can't. So that's not what I'm saying. Like an entrepreneur is like, you gotta be willing to risk everything. You gotta be willing to go against the entire world, because almost every good business idea, when you mention it to everyone else, they'll all say you're an idiot, you're crazy. I'm sure that happened to Steve Jobs. I'm sure it happened to so many people. And what you get today though, like all these companies, like the people running Apple, the people running Microsoft, well, Microsoft's not a good example, but they're all like suits with all their business degrees and stuff. They are not entrepreneurs. So yeah, I can kind of give them, some people do want to be engineers. I get it. And you probably do have to go to a school for that. If you want to get a job with, Most companies, it probably is the case. So yeah, you have to think about stuff like that. I'm just saying in general, most of that stuff and most things that people do is detrimental, and there's far better ways to do most things.
You know, the problem with everybody trying to be an entrepreneur, and I sort of followed my dad a little bit, but I did not want to work with the government. It's why I never developed a business. That's really the number one reason I never developed a business. I could have. Did not want to deal with the government.
That happens a lot with anarchists, is they don't do any business because they're like, well, if I do that business, I'm going to have to get a government permission. I'm going to have to file things with the government. I've done numerous businesses, and I think one of our CFOs or accountants files something, but I'm like, do as little as you possibly can, evade it in every single way you can, use offshore companies. If we have to file something, I guess we'll file it. But luckily for me, I'm quite lucky. Almost all my businesses have been basically digital businesses. When it's physical, it's a whole different deal. But, you have to make that decision. Life's full of decisions you have to make. Do you want to... Like, for example, as an anarchist, I think passports are an atrocity. I shouldn't need one to be able to travel around in the world. And, there's a little cat.
Yeah, they're growling at each other for the last half hour.
But, I want to take my kids to see Greece and Italy. And to do it without passports, we probably could. It'd be risky, it'd be dangerous, and there's a very good chance we wouldn't make it. And I might end up in jail, right? So, you weigh the things, right? So what I did is I got like 4 different passports so that I can evade every, this one doesn't allow that? Okay, well, I've got this one that does, right? And, go around all their systems. It's a tough time. We're in Kali Yuga. It's like it's the apocalypse. And so you're going to have to make tough decisions and just do what you think is best. But yeah, that is an issue with some anarchists and I've seen that, and actually it's kind of sad because a lot of them could have made a lot more capital, but they wanted to avoid the entire system completely, and because of that, they're quite poor, and because of that, they can't even really do the things they want to do. Like, I don't want to, but a person like Larkin Rose, like he's amazing for this movement. He spends most of his day painting sheds and stuff because he has no money. If he would have thought a little differently about it, and it's actually, he's got I don't want to do a psychological thing on him here, but he's got, a lot of people do, most people do, they've got a bit of it's a program in their head that thinks that money is bad. And a lot of people don't even realize that program's in their head, but I can see it.
This is the perfect spot. I'd love to share something.
Sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I just want to bring to our awareness is the mass traumatization that has happened on the planet. And when we talk about going through the Kali Yuga or all of these changes, that one of the most beneficial and the best things that we can do to be in service to the children would be to take care of our own nervous systems, because the children really attune with our nervous system. So if we are in fear, they're going to feel that, and they might not know exactly what's going on. So I think that it really is our responsibility to just stay grounded and to look at and to release whatever it is that's coming up within our own nervous systems.
I just want to say one thing about that is when people bring their children into treatment for acupuncture or Chinese medicine, my teacher said specifically, it's not usually the child, you need to treat the parent. And so make sure the parent comes in and you treat them, and the child will heal.
Thank you. That's exactly what I said.
Well, that's another thing. Like, when I look at the world, they put these kids into prison for like 12 years. They never teach them how to do anything. They don't teach them how to be creative. They don't teach them how to even think. That's the most important thing. And all stuff that it should be the base thing. And another thing that's never even talked about in Western society, when the kids show up to school, is, okay, what traumas do these kids have, and how do we help them with their traumas? Because they all have traumas, no matter what. And that's never dealt with. And that's the most important stuff. And it can be through acupuncture, it can be through so many different things, meditation and whatever, therapy. Yeah, there's so many different ways, but when's that ever talked about in Western society with anybody? Never, right? And so when I look at the schools, I'm like, well, this is horrible in every single way, and it teaches them nothing that's really important, and doesn't help them with anything that's important. Like, if you actually look, it's funny, like, so many kids in the US are now in schools that are also overweight. And they came out recently and they said the key is pharmaceuticals and surgeries to deal with the obesity problem. It's like, how about you let them run around like little kids and have a physical education class? Like, they stopped doing that, of course, because that's one of the most important things. So yeah, like, the world's a giant mess. But you don't have to be a part of it, right?
But I recently learned, or I had this idea, but I get more and more proof of this, is that this obesity is not only lack of a physical emotion, not only like unhealthy food, but it is often very psychological. Yes. And also, in my family, if you just try to kind of exercise, eat healthy, but you don't know or you don't get the right help with that actually the issue, you're gonna get like exhausted, you're gonna get mad, you're gonna get, it never works for me, I have tried this and this and this, and I still am as big and round as I am, and I just quit.
Yeah, like a lot of people are overweight. It's not just, they overeat a lot because they're traumatized, and the eating helps them to forget about their trauma for a bit. But they also store a lot of those traumas, and it just sort of builds up in their body. So everything.
Prana. They're seeking the life force energy in the food, and it isn't there. So they eat a lot, hoping to get a little bit of prana. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, well, then the food system's all garbage, and there's no nutrients, so they just keep eating.
Overeat to get it.
But there is a opposite problem to obesity, which is undereating as well, which is actually a problem. It's like a pandemic going on among young girls that are boys and girls that are ending up in hospitals because.
Can we not use gendered language, please?
Okay, children or young people, they do end up in hospitals because they can't eat anymore, so they get tubes put it into their system, and they suffer from anorexia. And I think this is becoming even more than obesity. I think obesity is, but yes, because it's something to do with having control of something that you don't have a control, so you have to replace that. And I think eating disorder is one of those.
A slow form of suicide.
Yes. Yeah, there are suicides as well.
And just briefly, there's tons of kids right now in prison sitting in desks right now, and they're all overweight and they're all traumatized. And then look at these kids over here. What are they doing at the exact same time? And you know what most people say about those kids? They're weird. Those are crazy, weird people, while they're destroying all their own kids.
So this is why what you're talking about is why modeling emotional intelligence for the children, which means that all of us who have been brainwashed to only have about 3 words to describe how we're feeling. Like, how are you feeling? Well, I'm good. Or I'm either happy, angry, or sad. Like, these are the emotion, the span of emotions that most of us know how to identify. Many times if you ask somebody, how do you feel? Well, I feel like things aren't really happening very good. Well, how are you feeling, right? Well, I feel angry. To really be in touch with what's happening in the emotional world and to work with that so that we're modeling that for the children. Because if they don't have those skills, they're just going to burn out and be isolated forever.
And we really don't have the gym classes that we had when I was growing up.
Oh man,
we always changed our clothes, always got sweaty and had to do that.
Do you see the gym classes in California in like the 1960s?
Oh, the vintage footage, that's amazing.
I don't know anyone that can do that, and they were all doing it. And that's what's totally possible. We're talking about that with my friend has a baby. He's now like a year and a half old or something. His core strength is superhuman. He can like just climb on any tree. He's a year and a half old. And I'm like, what happens after that most people don't end up like that? Well, they sit him in a chair for the next 12 years and make them hate life. But most people are supposed to kind of continue to be like that. But the entire system makes it so most people don't. I don't know how long we have here.
We have
10 to 12.
We have 7 minutes
Okay.
to go.
As long as there's an end point, because I do have other things to do.
Yes.
I really enjoy this.
7
One
minutes.
last comment for this. So several days we talking about how unhealthy food is schools and how bad is school system. I know it. It was terrible. I had so many traumas. Oh my God, what's happened? So I will not talk about it. But we need to talk about solution, and that's why I'm opening Country 2.0, where people like us. Not Liberland, Country 2.0, different thing. Yes, we're buying island in Fiji in this year and we're moving there. So people like us, Waldorf schooling, Montessori, Suomi education system, where we can live like we want. Because I listen from those two guys there, people who going right now in Waldorf schooling or Montessori or unschooling, so they're getting huge hate from government, from other people. Those kids, they're not in one society, and I would like to make this one society when all kids don't hate each other or bullying each other because you're going to Montessori or some other school systems. That's why we opening this project.
But I've been working in Waldorf school and I have never experienced kids hating each other from different schools, really. I have friends who had friends in other schools and they would kind of exchange their experience and maybe want to get, but I personally, I don't know, maybe somebody has, but I have never experienced
that. That's what I heard yesterday from this lady and from those two guys. Yesterday they told they can't fit in this society when your kid is in other school systems.
So I spent 37 years as a high school guidance counselor and survived, and so did they. Bullying is a real thing. It's a pack it's a pack animal thing. You see dogs wants to be the alpha bitch, you see kids. It's a thing that happens in nature. It's not a bad thing, but that's how they sort each other out. Now, it can hurt, it can be painful. How many of you, raise your hand if you were bullied in any way in school? Okay, there you go. It's a real thing. It's not made up.
Oh yeah. I would say too, though, it's different in different places. Most of the Mexican schools I've seen, everyone gets along great. It's a totally different culture. I think a lot of that's sort of a Western culture sort of a thing.
Parents who bully their kids and the kids take it to school.
Yeah.
And they,
Yeah.
Western culture.
This lady had a comment. She wanted
It's just a good one. I don't know. So my son was home educated, and he's grown. I want to swear. He's a grown man. He's 24. And the thing is, you don't need to do it. You guys, those that do it, no, you don't have to do it even every day or all day, 2 to 3 hours, and they read it on their own. And now you have all this other time. Whereas when they're in the system or the machine, whatever you want to call it, think of all the time that's been wasted. And that's why you hear these Olympiads, these top world chess leaders, and they are home educated. So and I just know he did a conservatory, he had a chess tutor, he did improv classes, he did gymnastics, and they excelled. And the ones that they excelled, also there were other home educated children in those groups. So just think of all the time as well that you're freeing up. And we have a great relationship. And he came with me in business. Just think about all the things that you benefit by doing things the natural way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing how people don't even think about this, that most people in the West today, they barely see their kids. How insane is that? They should be with them basically most of the time, especially when they're quite young. But they put them into the system and they're trained by commies and, get their lap dances from trannies and I have a Mexican wife, so we have this baby, and she's teaching me all this stuff. They just know this stuff in Mexico. She's like, oh, you need at least an hour a day of skin-on-skin contact with the baby. This stuff I didn't really know. And in our culture, my parents, the baby's over there. Let's go do something. So yeah, the whole thing is designed obviously to destroy the families. Obviously.
Sorry, Jeff. My children would like to ask a couple of questions. If
Sure.
It's okay.
Yeah, we should definitely have some kids ask some questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. That's Maximus.
Yeah, Maximus. What's your opinion on Andrew Tate? Do you think he's with the government and is it another distraction, or do you think he's actually genuinely trying to like be useful and actually like break people from the matrix?
All right, the question is, what do I think about Andrew Tate? I would say that I have my own opinions on him, and they're not very flattering. But I would say, why does it matter to you who or what he is, right? Because, like, so are you asking that question because you kind of like how he talks and you're wondering if you should really trust him or something?
It's because a lot of people follow him and they support him. I want to know what he's actually like, his genuine opinion is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really know. I've kind of looked into him a bit. I find when anyone becomes super famous overnight, especially when they get a tweet from Greta, who's also like controlled opposition, you know, but he says some good things. In fact, when I first saw him talking, I was like, oh, he's kind of like how I used to talk, you know, before I got canceled everywhere, but he's not getting canceled everywhere. So, but what I would say is never put all your faith into just one person. If you like something they say, listen to that and look into it and do your own research. And if you disagree, that's fine with some things. But a lot of people seem to like to put people on a pedestal, and I've witnessed that even myself. And so never even trust anything I say. Like, listen to me. If you like some of this stuff, great. Do your own research. But, you know, most of the world, when someone's quite famous, it's usually for a reason. It's because they're allowed to be famous, because they are controlled and they won't say certain things. So I would just be careful of that.
I'd like to go for listen to all and follow none.
Yeah, listen to all and follow none.
Can
Yeah.
Akira ask a question?
We have it should be our last question.
Yes.
Then.
Thank you.
You get the last question.
Thank you. Well as doing my own education recently, I also sort of want to start making my own money just to start off early, I guess.
Yeah,
and
anarcho-capitalist.
yeah, how do you suggest I start making my own early money?
All right, the question is, how old are you?
15.
Okay, she's 15. She's like, I want to start making some money. How do I do it? You know, there's so many ways, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously to you, but you know, with everything going on in the world today, with all this TikTok and Instagram influencers, and like, there's a lot of opportunities for people like yourself to do quite well. So with the influencing stuff, you know, you find something that you love, right? Is there any particular thing like you just love?
I'm rather interested in astrophysics, astronomy.
Clearly she's never gone to a government school. Okay. Astrophysics and astronomy.
Painting. You're a very good artist.
Oh, you're an artist as well. Wow. So yeah, I would like maybe even like start like a channel, and you know, there's not many 15-year-old girls with an astrophysics channel, right? So that's going to just catch on, and then you say, hey, buy my T-shirts or something, right? Or whatever it is you want to, you know, make some money with. That's one way, but I would.
You can answer this question.
Oh, you want to answer the question for it? Oh yeah, you're already making money, aren't you?
Okay, thank you. So
Why am I even here?
Thank you. Am I on live TV?
No, it's not live.
I swear I'm gonna be famous.
You're already
No, sir.
Thank you.
Answer the question. How you can make money with the age of 10?
So what I do is
Can you speak a little louder for everyone?
My mother she makes all the cool stuff like wall plates. Like she takes like the tops of yogurt containers. She puts some colored paper on it. And then she just decorates it with like seashells and stuff, and then I sell them for at the beach for like 100 pesos each, and then like you just gotta keep a smile on your face and like don't hunch over like a lamb.
But I'm talking about Peak D. I talk about Peak D.
Yeah. Or yeah.
I love Unschooling kids.
Good suggestion. Keep a smile on your face. Listen to everyone, believe no one, and just try out your own things. Yes. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
I have a poem. It's the best parenting advice. Khalil Gibran, do you know him, the prophet?
Just like unschool resources. And
Can I read it to you or to the group?
It looks pretty long.
Well, I'll read it to you.
Okay, can you do it quick? Like, I just have a bunch of things I gotta do.
Yeah, I know, sweetheart. So I'll read it to the thing. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot even visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backwards nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows might go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, he also loves the bow that bends.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome. Khalil Gibran.
No, it's okay.
Have fun.
Thank you.
I have a gift for your baby.
Okay, just hang on one second. I'm going to finish this video here. So yeah, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I just showed up here. Hopefully the audio worked out okay. I wasn't expecting to record all this, but I started recording and it was amazing. So there you go, some free content from Anarchapulco. This is like the family camp, the kids camp, and this is the kind of content we've been having all week at Anarchapulco. So we'll put the link down below. If you like this, you're going to love pretty much everything that we've been talking about all week. We're still not done. Go sign up for the replays and hear from people like Marjorie Wildcraft over here. There's so many other people. Yeah, as you can see, a lot of cool stuff going on. And can give you a lot of hope, a lot of inspiration, a lot of education. So sign up for the live stream and watch those videos like one a day for the next 2 months. Incredible information. And I'll leave it with Lucy. Where is Lucy? She got stolen, I think. Let me look for her. Hang on.
But I am happy.
Oh, there she is.
I'm going to be teaching children.
What do you think about that, Lucy? Oh, that sounds pretty good, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I never went to school. I don't bother with that stuff. I knew how to get tacos from the day I was born. I'm a street dog. Yeah. I'm also a fraser, though. Yeah. Usually people give me tacos, and I give them all kisses.